Welcome back, everybody, to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me, as always, in my favorite Twins hat, Mr. Andy Molitor. I just really like that hat, and I'm glad you didn't wear a Timberwolves hat because fuck those Timberwolves.
I'd have to dig it out of the garbage, Noops. It'd be a whole thing. Yeah, they have some like Detroit's bad, and now this is twice in the span of 12 days that they've looked very bad in the second half against which Bogdanovich is it? I never remember. Bojan just has his way with this team. If Bojan played the Timberwolves 82 times of the year, he'd be LeBron. Honest to God, it's really something. I played my basketball went okay. I'm excited about golf starting in like about an hour, I suppose. Some of the tee times are a little earlier. They can't start late in the afternoon because there were 40 guys last week. We have 144 this week. So they do have to start a little earlier on the tee times, but still afternoon golf for the most part, which is fun because we can talk about more daily bets each day as we get through, each day, today and tomorrow, I guess. I'm not doing a Saturday show, guys. Quit asking. But we had the draw last night, the Australian Open draw, which is fun. Quarter prices, I'm not sure, have been popped up everywhere. It's starting to trickle in. I bet, and if I were a betting man, which I am, obviously this is a gambling show, I would bet Noops will have a quarter price or two tomorrow on the show, or at least if he's not, putting his neck out some ideas on a few that might have some value. So I'm excited about that. I love quarter prices more than anything. I think I've definitely made more money on quarter prices over the years for tennis outrights than actual outrights. It's so hard to win a tournament. It really is. Just look at what our poor Cooter monster had to do last night. Should have fight off 5 set points and then just thrash that ass in the third set. My God. That's how it goes too. When a favorite is up against the wall, you can say momentum's not real. I'm of that nature. I don't believe in betting on momentum, but you see this all the time in tennis where a big favorite or even just the favorite gets put up against the wall and fights it off. And then that third set, the underdog just doesn't have anything left. I tried. It's time to play 6 or 7 games of tennis and go home.
It's why I always compare tennis to boxing. And I know at first a lot of people roll their eyes at that because no one gets punched in the face during a tennis match. And I'm not talking about UFC, but a good classic, Olympic style boxing match where 2 people are kind of dancing. That's what a tennis match reminds me of. Again, you're standing further apart, but the way they're firing the ball around, there's a lot of combinations that are played. And again, like you said, it's that momentum thing where if the underdog comes out and puts the favorite on the ropes, as soon as the favorite starts punching back and kind of gets control, that underdog is really kind of, been spent at that point. All the energy is kind of done. And that's what I love about tennis, that one-on-one element of it. It's great.
Yeah, I do enjoy the ebbs and flows of tennis, and it looks like you made some bets on the big tournament coming up, some outrights.
Couple outrights, like you said, quarter prices basically just started opening about 30 minutes before the show, and first round lines again are still kind of floating out some spots, but I've had a chance to go through the draw. 3 outright bets I like on the women's side, and again tomorrow, Andy, get ready. There's going to be screens, multiple, not even 2. I bet I'll have 3. There'll be quarter bets, first round bets, all sorts of goofy stuff. It'll be quite a bit of fun. But for now, let's get a couple outright bets in as we get started here. We'll start with Belinda Bencic. Bet on her last night is having a great week here in the lead-up tournament. Fatigue is a real thing, and you don't necessarily maybe love betting someone the week after a long week, but Grand Slam's a little bit different. You have a couple things working in play here. Number one, every player gets a day off in between matches. That makes the transition much, much easier. These tournaments are also aware of who played longer weeks the previous week and generally give those players some time. So I'd be surprised if Bencic played on Monday. And then the third thing, her first match is pretty easy. Victoria Tomova here. Not that, Tomova's a solid player, but Bencic is going to take care of business here. So not really bothered by the fatigue angle here. I love her spot in this draw. Is going to be a huge favorite here, basically until the 4th round, where she may face Aryna Sabalenka. But, if Sabalenka does what she has done in a lot of these events and kind of flakes out in the first couple rounds, it might be just Elise Mertens or Shelby Rogers. I mean, Bencic could have a really nice walk here into the quarterfinals where, maybe Ons Jabeur is there, but she hasn't played great tennis. Maybe Beatriz Haddad Maia is there. Bencic is generally much better than her. Maybe Samsonova is somehow able to snap back in form, but looks like a really nice spot here. Almost certainly have Bencic to win the quarter tomorrow, but 25-1 or better, in great form and a nice spot of the draw. Have to scoop that up. And the aforementioned Cooter monster, still like her chances to win the tournament this week. Was waiting to see where she got put in the draw. And again, just a really nice spot here. Zanevska in the first round should be easy. A qualifier probably in the second round. That should be a cakewalk. Again, kind of just smooths into the fourth round there, where maybe it's Daria Kasatkina, who she could easily put away. Just really like her spot there. Toughest match is going to be the quarterfinal. Maybe Caroline Garcia's there, but took care of Caroline pretty comfortably this week already. So absolutely like Kudermetova here. And I don't care what you say, Ivan. Madison Keys is playing fantastic tennis, ripped through the United Cup, ripped through the first Adelaide tournament, and sits in a really kind of soft spot in this draw. Now, Keys is someone that, similar to Sabalenka, can certainly flame out, but 50-1 is a great number for a player who's going to be a prohibitive favorite in her first 1, 2, 3, 4 probably matches, maybe even 5. Now, the quarterfinal could be tough. There might be Pegula there, Kvitova, maybe even Krejcikova if she can play herself back into form. But when Keys is playing her best tennis, and she loves playing down here in Australia, generally does very well, and it makes sense. These courts are fast. She likes the hot weather here. Everything is set up for her nicely. So, again, great, it's tough betting on somebody like this, and that's why I try to stick to big numbers, because who knows, maybe she flames out a little bit even in the first round against Plinkova. There's certainly a chance of that, but if she gets rolling here, there's pretty much nobody that's going to stop her until the quarter semifinals, and 50-1, we're going to have a ton of equity on her if she makes it that far. So Bencic 25-1 or better, Kudermetova 30-1 or better, and Madison Keys 50-1 or better. Those are all our outright picks as we try to go against Iga Swiatek for the first time this year. Let's do it.
Yeah. I bet Iga, so I didn't yet. That should be I'm gonna do outright. I'll do outrights after you do outrights, and I'll just pick the favorite all 8 times.
Well, did you have any thoughts on the men's side? Did you take anybody there?
Not,
I know
not
everybody seems to like Djokovic. I think Whale has been accruing some Medvedev positions,
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say I tend to agree with Drew on the Medvedev, but the price is starting to get pushed down a little, like probably sooner than later on that. And truthfully, like as inevitable as the Polish princess is sometimes, I wonder where Novak's headspace is right now. Like he has to be angry at Australia and this tournament. Like if he were ever motivated, and it's not like this is a guy who needs a big shot of motivation to get over the top. How many majors does he have? How many wins does he have? He's one of the best players in the world for a very long time now. But if he had ever had that little boost of extra motivation to just say, I'm going to absolutely bend this tournament over and just hammer on it. Just hammer on it and take everybody out and not drop a set. I don't know. Like it felt weird when he got he was in detention, man. It was like the scene at the I can't remember if it's Godfather 2 or the horrible Godfather 3 where they show him coming to America and
Godfather 2.
Yeah, it is Godfather 2. It's like, oh yeah, you're in quarantine. Sit in this room for 3 months. Like poor he fucked up, obviously.
I'm trying to remember what he had. He had some horrible disease, and they're just like, yeah, go sit in this room for a while.
Yeah, I think it was like, oh, you have Rocky Mountain scarlet fever or whatever. Go sit in this room. But yeah, the Novak thing obviously wasn't like a victim. He didn't listen to the rules, and there was some paperwork that was maybe fudged, but it did feel kind of bad for him as they just put him in a room. So it might just be the Novak show. I hope not. I hope for a wide open draw. There's a couple of players I'm looking at. You know what? I'll have a couple men's outrights tomorrow. I haven't looked at the prices enough. I spent a good portion of the morning on golf, and I'm going to spend all afternoon watching golf. So maybe this afternoon into tomorrow morning, I'll have some stuff to take a look at. I do have a look in college hoops. Hoops ended up with a few extra plays compared to what I just talked about on the show. Obviously, I put them in on the BetSperts app. Mercer didn't show up at all. I think it was 2 and 2, the ones I posted, which if you saw the extra 2, you just paid a little extra juice because I went 3 and 3 overall. But Mercer never showed up. UNCW, what a game, right down to right down to it. They lost by 2, but they were getting 3 points. Good enough for me. Very tight one at the end. SMU kind of was in it for a big chunk of it and then pissed it away at the end. And then UTRGV +6. Never in doubt. I think they scored like 100 damn points, led wire to wire, and won the damn game. Another team that I think can probably pull an upset, or God willing, and the creek don't rise, lose a 2-point game as a 3-point dog, is the South Alabama Jaguars, playing the James Madison Dukes, football powerhouse, but a decent basketball team this year down in the Fun Belt. And again, it's all going to be conference play at this point. Sun Belt, they've lost 2 of their last, actually, they've lost 2 straight, both at home, which is kind of troubling for a team that had a nice non-conference run, but at the same time, they had a weak non-conference schedule. They didn't play a lot of good teams, and when they did, they got beat. I think people are giving them credit for a close loss to Virginia and giving them credit for hanging with North Carolina a little, but they lost some weird games too. I don't have them rated nearly as high as maybe the Ken Palms and the Torviks and all the rating systems do. Defense is good. Offense is bad. I can say that for both teams. That's kind of the story of both teams, but South Alabama, I don't think the gap is that big, and a lot of it does come down to just the strength of schedule adjustments I make for who these teams played before they got together for conference play. And of course, I love an underdog that forces a lot of turnovers. South Alabama forces the 15th most turnovers in the whole bleeping country. So good luck to the Jaguars, +3. That's my only look. In a bit of a shortish slate. Yeah.
It's Thursday. I mean,
Then
those
people are
kids
talking about,
hypothetically have classes. I don't know.
yeah, some of them do. I wonder about that on these road trips, like where you play like Monday and Thursday in a different part of the country. And like, are you going back home for school? I mean, because some of these are like, you don't play for Kentucky. It's not like you're a one and done. You're playing for like a Missouri Valley school. Like you're not getting drafted. You still should probably go to class at some point. So, and
Probably
people
Zoom
are,
them in, or they drag a tutor around with them.
oh
Who
yeah,
knows? I'm
that's
hoping.
what
I'm hoping they're doing
that's what
something.
they do when they have snow days now. It'll be a flexible learning day, and just look in your
That's
email
not
for
fair.
for
If it
14
snows,
minutes.
it's a snow day.
Exactly. We don't make them do the homework till after like supper.
I'd
Like,
send
go
it
have
back to
fun,
the
play
teachers.
play
It's a
today.
snow day. Leave my kids alone.
Leave them alone. But yeah, people are mentioning the Derek Carr farewell letter.
It's he wrote it.
Truthfully, it's the hey, I'm sorry that happened, or congratulations, I ain't reading that all meme, because I did not read it all.
I read a couple sentences of it. He feels real bad. He wishes he could still be a Raider, but I mean, what is his future? Like, is it almost too easy to put him on the Colts since that's what they do? They're all about acquiring quarterbacks 2 years too late.
Yeah, I guess he's a Colt. That kind of makes sense. Well, here's a good question before we get into the NBA. Are there any NBA trades you're hoping to see?
Hard to think of something specific. I really want to figure out what Detroit's doing with the aforementioned Bojan Bogdanovic. He is probably the best piece that is floating around there that is still available. There's not really too much going on. It's a weird season in the NBA. The teams that are trying to buy don't necessarily have any great assets or want to, give up on them. Again, everybody talks about the Lakers, but that front office seems pretty reticent to move a first-round pick for, somebody for a one-year kind of thing. I mean, it's going to be, I think, a little quieter of a trade deadline than we've had in the past. Again, stuff like Indiana was supposed to be a big seller, but they've been a good team. They're pushing towards the playoffs, and that ownership has never been one to tank. So my guess is you won't see the Pacers tear anything down. The Jazz have a couple pieces. I've been waiting for that to kind of fall apart, but yeah, the buyers aren't really loaded with great stuff to offer, and there's not that many sellers with too many things to really put up. I mean, we'll see what Toronto does. Toronto is going to be the interesting team, the kind of pivot team. If Masai Ujiri decides to just rip it open, Siakam's available, OG Anunoby's available, Fred VanVleet's available, then stuff's going to start to get weird. But I keep an eye on Bojan Bogdanovic, and then keep an eye on the Raptors. Otherwise, I think it'll be a little bit quieter. And yes, Jason, Triple J, -135 for Defensive Player of the Year. Let's hope that fingers crossed. This is the sound of me knocking on wood. All it's going to take is for him to finish the season healthy, which is a bigger ask than you think.
Yeah. I know a lot of people bet on him last year. Year early guys, I guess, which is doesn't pay nearly as well. That's my favorite. I've seen multiple dealers do this, but there's a specific dealer at a specific casino that I like that deals craps. That we've all played craps with that guy where he bets the pass line, he bets the odds, maybe he throws a few bucks on the 6, and then someone rolls a 4, and then he bets the 4, and someone rolls an 8, and then he bets the 8, and then finally the dealer will tell him, "Sir, it pays better if you bet it before the number is rolled." As that is very, very true. I just like, because usually if that person is too dumb to understand that he's making fun of him donating to the casino. I do enjoy that part. I don't know anything about the trade market. Bradley Beal, I guess, is he on the market?
He seems to always be
Timberwolves don't need a
available, but
shooting guard.
yeah, it's a huge contract. So, I mean, you're talking about basically a max player. So it's really hard to acquire that. You're going to have to pick up a bunch of luxury tax. So I think somebody would like to pick up Bradley Beal. But again, I don't know where he fits. Like, unless Westbrook is going to get traded for Bradley Beal, which maybe, I don't know.
That's something.
What would be something?
Well, what about tonight? What are we gambling on tonight? Not long-term, short-term, today's games.
Yeah, it's 6 games tonight. I'm seeing some MVP stuff. Yeah, Kevin, the MVP is wide open. I would actually start to look at Giannis a little bit. Jokic, if he wins, will be a 3-time in a row MVP winner, which hasn't happened since Larry Bird. And I believe it's Larry Bird, Wilt Chamberlain, and there's one other name that I always forget that did it.
Might have been George Mikan.
No, might have been Oscar Robertson or somebody like that. But again, there's only been 3 players ever to win it 3 times in a row. None of them are Michael Jordan. None of them are LeBron James. And it's going to take a lot for voters because they know what that historical impact is. So
Bill Russell.
Jokic, yeah, Bill Russell, thank you. Nikola Jokic probably should be the favorite, but again, it's going to be really tough for him to overcome that. I'm done. I'm done thinking Luka Doncic is going to win the MVP until he does. It's just he doesn't seem to take that big step forward. So I would look at maybe a Antetokounmpo if I was looking at an MVP, but that's a great market to leave alone, honestly. So yeah, jumping into tonight's slate, 6 games, 2 of them I have looks on. As I look at some of the other stuff, I saw somebody mention, a Sixers Thunder over. Not a bad play. The Sixers have been great offensively. The Thunder have been kind of iffy on the road and is a blowout. Blowouts are generally good spots for overs. Those games get a little bit out of hand. So, lean towards the over there, but was happy to leave that one alone. Celtics and Nets should be a great game tonight, but no Kevin Durant, and the Celtics played pretty well last night. Again, got us by I think it was not quite the hook, but lost by a basket there with our Pelicans bet. Cavs, Trailblazers is the other game there that I didn't have anything on. I don't know why the Blazers are underdogs at home. I guess that means Lillard's not going to play, so I'll wait for the injury report there. And then Lakers, Mavericks, my numbers like the Lakers. I don't like betting the Lakers. I'm happy to leave that one alone. But 2 bets I do like. We're going to take an over and a team total under here. The Milwaukee Bucks going to visit the Miami Heat. Really like the over here. I was able to get 216.5, would play anything 217.5 is probably pretty good. I had this at 220, almost 221 when I started this morning. Tweaked it down a little bit as I started to look at some things for pace. The possibility that the Bucks here on a back-to-back might be without Jrue Holiday takes a little bit out of the score here, but this Miami Heat team, no matter what 8-9 random guys they seem to roll out there, play much better at home offensively. The Bucks have been getting better and better here, and on a back-to-back, it's going to be tough for Milwaukee to really hold things down defensively. So I think we'll see a decent amount of points here. I mean, again, for a Miami Heat game, 216.5 is pretty low for an NBA game, but for the Heat, that's actually a relatively high total. So I had this one closer to 220 again. Anything 217.5 or lower, I'll take. And then the Charlotte Hornets playing their second game in Toronto. Had a great night shooting against the Raptors in their first game. We're not able to cover that spread, but shot over 54%, made a bunch of 3-pointers here. Toronto has been a great team in terms of adjustments. Expect them to, again, at home, as much as they were happy winning that game. I know they take a lot of pride in their defense, and I'm sure Nick Nurse is going to figure out a few things here to lock down the Hornets tonight. So, again, unless they shoot 55% again from the field, had this number closer to 108 myself. So anything 112 or higher, even 111 looks pretty good. I'll take towards the under. So Bucks Heat over 217.5 or lower. Hornets team total under 111.5 or lower. Again, should be able to get some better numbers right now. So just a couple looks for us.
Just a couple. We got a lot to bet on today. There's a ton. I'm going to hurry up and go through this. There's more on BetSports Golf. I just want to focus in on one. I put everything I bet in the Discord, but one of my bigger edges for a single round matchup, which is to say it starts today and it ends today. These are, I do like these because, I mean, some people maybe don't like betting golf because of the fact that it takes so long to cash some of these. Although some of the full tournament matchups do end up cashing on a Friday, which is awful.
I can wait 4 days for money.
Yeah, I'm very patient. I do believe this is a later one too. I think this is why I picked it. Ryan Armour, God damn it, they do tee off pretty soon. Well, shit, maybe I'll throw in another one here, but this is the one I wanted to talk about. It is an earlier-ish tee time compared to everybody, and yes, remember the UFC is back on Saturday. Even if I don't bet it, I do still enjoy watching a lot of that. Ryan Armour and Joseph Bramlett. Like I said, this is for the single round. This is just for today. Kind of based on everything I've talked about on what's important for this tournament. Ryan Armour's, I mean, the form is what it is for both of these guys. Neither of them is a guy who competes a ton, maybe on some of the smaller events or the smaller fields. They're 6,900 each at DraftKings for a reason, but Bramlett is a much, 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 much worse putter. Not that Armour's great, but he's at least a little above average. Armour does basically everything that I think is important here much, much better. When I look at, again, I talked about this earlier in the week, fairways gained, good drives gained, proximity from like 125 to 175, putting on Bermuda. Ryan Armour ranks in the top 10 for 4 out of 5 of those. Actually, no, 5 out of 5 of those in this entire field over 50 of a 50 round sample, whereas Joseph Bramlett ranks 128th out of 144 in fairways gained, 107th in good drives gained out of 144, 132 out of 144 putting, and 132 out of 144 putting on Bermuda. So just a couple of guys. I ended up. Oh, I did. This is my full turning matchup. Damn it, Dan. I'm still just talking about a bet that I made yesterday. Dan has me confused, and mostly because I have myself confused. God damn it! It's on screen too, and I'm looking at a different one. All right, Hayden Buckley, Mackenzie Hughes. We have each other confused. This is a whole different bet. I really think you should place this other bet though, because I
sounded good.
Yeah. Anyway, Mackenzie Hughes is a guy I bet against all the time. I think he's horrible at golf. His driving accuracy is shit. That's basically the play here. He won the Sanderson Farms, which is a bad field at a bad course, and it doesn't mean much. It's a chicken sponsorship down in Mississippi. Like, it's not a good event. He's bumped up a little in the market because of that, but he doesn't. I mean, he hasn't played well at some of these other events. I'm not sure he's actually played at the Sony much. I'm checking that right now. Yeah, missed the cut in 77th, missed the cut in 8. Yeah, he hasn't had a ton of success here, and I don't rate much of what he does well. And yeah, thanks Dan for sorting me out as I'm off looking at the other tabs with all my stats. But if you did miss yesterday, Ryan Armour over Joseph Bramlett full tournament. I do love that. Anyway, Hayden Buckley is someone I actually considered for an outright because of his price. He's another one that's a little further down the board. Basically, both of these guys drive the ball the same distance, which is, say, slightly above average. But Hayden Buckley's driving accuracy is miles and miles better. He just doesn't miss cuts. He missed the cut at the Fortinet in June or in September. Hadn't missed one for 3 months before that. He's really, really had some nice form over the past 6 months. This is just kind of a, hey, Mackenzie Hughes, you're probably going to miss the cut. Hayden Buckley, just show up on Saturday and collect this money for me kind of thing if you're betting on these guys. But as it is, I'm just betting for it for one round. I just need Mackenzie Hughes to head one direction, Hayden Buckley to to use a tennis term, hold serve. I'm not looking for Buckley to be on the leaderboard, to be on the first page. This is more of a Mackenzie Hughes fade, especially since he is a favorite in this market. So, all right, that was Andy acting like a a very old person who was very confused about what he was talking about for 3 minutes betting some
Admittedly,
golf.
I was clicking around, looking at some other stuff, but I was sort of listening to you. I was like, I don't think he's mentioned the names on the screen, but maybe he's talking about something. I don't.
Yeah. Dan made a point this morning. He's like, "Man, you do a lot of content." I'm like, "Yeah, sometimes I forget what I said right after I say it."
Makes sense.
Anyway,
Do you have a pick for the people?
no, that was the one I did put in the sheet today. I did say I wanted to bet the Mackenzie Hughes fade with Buckley, but some people on the show the other day with Noonan and I brought up Aaron Rye. Another one I bet was Aaron Rye over Ryan Palmer for a single round matchup. And then that's where I got confused too. I did bet Ryan. I did bet Armour again for a single round matchup at Bookmaker. I found a price over Patton Kazire at minus 102. So just a few different matchups I like today, I guess.
Yeah, it makes sense. That sounds good. Are you picking anybody in suicide golf or whatever they call it?
Yeah, a few different ones. It's so tricky this year, and we talked about this a bunch in the Discord as well. The Betsports Golf Discord is people are starting to come around on one and dones. I think a lot of people play those
Yeah,
now, and
one and done. There you go.
it's tough because a lot of these events last year, Noops, they changed the purses. Like, hey, this used to be a $12 million purse, now it's 20. The Masters is only 15. So you kind of, because it's important that you pick a golfer who does well and places high, you also have to kind of rank your events out and say, well, this one has a $6 million purse. This has an $8 million purse. Like, there's
Yeah,
just not as much. There's not as much money to be won, and the points are all based on money. So you do kind of got to focus in and figure out, where to use certain guys based on that. But at the same time, it'll also affect who plays where, because there are some of these events that didn't get elevated that might just have horrible fields. And, you say, well, there's 44 events. I'm going to look at the top 60 golfers in the world and try to use people from that list. There might be events where none of those guys show up, and you have to get pretty squirrely with it down the road. So I'm not as big of a fan as saving guys. If you like a guy, if you think it's a nice match, don't worry about the outright price. Just play it. Worry about it later down the road. There's always going to be 3 or 4 guys that are not on your radar right now that you're going to be playing in one and done come summertime, whether it's because you have to because of the field, or because you've used the one good guy in the tournament to come down the field, or it's because somebody plays a lot better than you ever thought he was going to, and suddenly we're using, like, everybody's using this guy in the playoffs. Like, Cam Young wasn't somebody that might have been super high on radars. I think Montgomery might be the guy for that this year.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, we got a little more tennis. It's not Australian Open tennis, but again, they're still playing some of these other events. I'll get to some round one bets tomorrow and all sorts of good stuff like that. But we're still in Adelaide. We're still in Hobart. Nothing for me in Adelaide. Paula Badosa, a short favorite over Daria Kasatkina, makes perfect sense to me. Belinda Bennett, a short favorite over our outright Veronica Kudermatova. Looks just about right. Maybe a touch of value on Kudermatova, but since we have the outright, I'll let that roll. But 2 matches at Hobart, and I have something I like for each one of them. We'll start with the money line here. Elizabetta. We'll start with the money line here. Lauren Davis, minus 125 over Anna Blinkova. I have that basically the exact opposite price. Would have Blinkova closer to minus 120, minus 125. Davis is the underdog here. Davis is a tough player to handicap. The market, for whatever reason, really respects her, especially if she gets later in events. She's actually taken a little bit of money this morning. But I really like the way Blinkova has been playing. If I look at her last year, the last few months, even this week, all her results look slightly better to me than Davis's. So happy to take her at plus money. Honestly, plus anything looks pretty good. There's a plus 105 out there. And then a first set over Sophia Kenin. Get herself back into form. The former Australian Open winner. Going to be kind of interesting here the next couple of weeks. I don't know if, again, she's good enough to win the entire tournament, but has been playing some nice tennis. Goes up against Elisabetta Cocchiaretta. Cocchiaretta knocked out Paolini, our last outright in this tournament the other day. Again, playing some better tennis here is someone that's a little bit underrated, I think, on some of these quicker hard courts, and should be a very competitive match. The total is a juicy 21.5, right as it should be. But again, I look at those total markets and these first set markets, and I just don't see the even movement that you would expect. A juicy 21.5. I would expect this 9.5 to be minus 15, maybe even minus 120, but you're getting minus 105. There may even be a little better number out there. Again, a little tougher to find these bets, but the first set overs bookmaker has this, Bovada has this, just about every legal shop has it. Again, over 9.5, anything less than standard juice looks great to me. Again, the correlation seems a little bit off here, and both these limited played very long first set so far. So let's get a 6-4, 7-5 kind of first set there. And Ken and Coach Ureta and the underdog, Anna Blinkova, outright in Hobart.
Hobart. Is that New Zealand?
No, everybody's in Australia.
What's the New Zealand one?
Auckland. The men are in Auckland. I forgot about that.
I knew there was a New Zealand one. So, all right, I'll have a couple of looks at some quarter prices on the men's side tomorrow. We'll talk a little NFL football. We'll have another golf bet. Maybe I'll even go over today's golf bet again tomorrow. That'll be fun. And we enjoyed you. We enjoy you chiming in the chat. Hit the thumbs up on the way out. Have a good Thursday. Sorry there's no Thursday night football. I'm sure your family misses you. Go say hi to them. We'll catch you tomorrow.